Since about 1990, and what I'm going to talk about today is images of Bigfoot. Most of these I've gotten off the internet or had people that I know send them to me. There's a few of them that I was kind of involved in getting the photos myself. Let's see, now we got to find the right file. If you can sort by date, it's the most recent file.
Is that what you do during the daytime in your investigations, Bob?
Yeah, well, I was a Boy Scout troop here. I was trying to clean up my computer because it jammed up with the startup disk being full a couple days ago. So I had a whole bunch of Boy Scout photos that I wrote to this memory stick.
By the way, Joel, you're the kind of Boy Scout leader I would have loved to have as a kid.
Here we go, May 2007.
I made it all the way to Life Scout.
Ooh,
Man, that would have been cool.
It's supposed to be PowerPoint.
Yeah, it is.
I downloaded PowerPoint next, well,
No, I have an Apple computer and it writes it normally to key in every place I go.
Greg, you need to find the
They always
PowerPoint.
require it to be in PowerPoint.
Is that the, Greg, right click on it. You have to right click on it?
That's it, PowerPoint on it.
Right, but to use the viewer.
Yeah, it's an executable. So
Oh, that's the name, oh, it says PowerPoint on here.
so right click and go
We're
where?
on PowerPoint.
Open with.
Open with this one, probably.
third one down.
No, open with, not
Oh,
open.
this is, yeah.
No, right click on it, open with,
Work with the PowerPoint.
One more down. Right there.
click it. That's your viewer.
Other programs?
It's got Microsoft Office.
Do you have PowerPoint on your computer?
So,
Because I got it, you can transfer it to my zip drive and then we can put it on Joel's computer.
Actually, he's got a thing right here, I can just, put it on Joel,
That's what I'm saying, do you have a way to transfer it or not?
it's not even, he's got it compiled, it's not a card.
Oh, okay.
One experience with Bigfoot. You probably survived, most people have. I would like to see one when I'm sitting in my car and it's maybe 40, 50 feet away and the engine is running.
actually, it should
My ground chart is out.
Okay.
I have had some experiences walking out in the woods in a certain location in southern Ohio where they were bothering a family for a couple of years. And I had a lot of rocks thrown at me. I think they were just playing games because one thing we did, they were throwing rocks at the tin roof of the garage. And they liked to hear the noise. It was getting near dusk. I ran out behind the house where they had this little wishing well, a roof that was about 3 feet by 3 feet on each side. And I went and hid behind the wishing well, and the wood line was maybe 60, 80 feet away. So I couldn't see what was throwing the rocks. And once I hid behind that little wishing well thing, they could hit the roof every time. The rocks one after another. But when I'd be out walking around on the gravel road, rocks would land near me, or they'd throw them way up in the air. Once a pebble grazed my cheek. I think most of the time they're just playing games with you. They throw rocks. If they wanted to hurt you, they could probably throw a 5-pound rock at you from a couple hundred feet away and hit you if they wanted. There's some of the other apes are known to be fairly good rock throwers. My wife's a volunteer at the Detroit Zoo, and they put up the new chimp exhibit about 10 years ago. They tried to make sure there were no leftover objects in its maybe a couple acres that the chimps could throw. And they said as they were nearing completion on the project, there was a glass wall, and one of the workers was on the outside of the exhibit, walking behind this glass panel, and the chimp in the exhibit found about a 3 or 4 inch bolt laying around and threw it at the glass. If the glass hadn't been there, he would have hit the guy.
Did you hear the story about the chimp? I think he was out east that was throwing stuff at people coming to the exhibit, and he would hide stuff
Oh.
under straw around his exhibit, so
Yeah,
wherever
I've
he
heard
was,
some of
he
those
could
things.
take rocks out and throw them at people.
Yeah, I would hide other things
Yeah.
that came out of his own body. And
Yeah.
one would do that and throw them at people. I heard that story recently. Oh, you're into the files? Okay, just sort on the, either the largest or, no, the most recent, if you just sort by date. It'll pop up the towns, this is about May. Yeah, that's May 2017. Okay, thanks a lot.
There we go.
I don't know if that's-
We'll do this. That it?
Now I gotta get someone to, if I stand here, I can click the next slide myself.
Please. Keep going. Go.
Yeah, the types of images that are available out there are sketches drawn by the witnesses themselves, and depending on how good an artist they are, you might or might not draw a very good sketch. Artist drawings can be pretty good. The artist gets to interview the witness. There's David Paulides, if you've ever heard of him. He wrote the Missing 411 books, but he also has another book where he got a Native American who was a very well-known or very competent police sketch artist, where he do sketches for eyewitnesses to help catch criminals. He and this guy went out to an Indian reservation, I think in Oregon or Washington, and interviewed a lot of people on the tribal lands that had contact with the Bigfoots, and he's got some very well done drawings of the face and I think the whole body in some cases. So some of those could be pretty good. Photos, of course, are good, and like the Patterson-Gimlin film, that's probably the best video out there. There's a whole lot of videos on the internet right now, and who knows, maybe there's 5 or 6 of them that are actually fairly good and show Bigfoot. But I won't get into those too much. This is what we'd like to have ideally in a photograph. But none of the photographs of Bigfoot approach this level of detail. And on my computer screen, this part of the art looked pretty dark, but I want to emphasize a lot is the original photo didn't look this good. This was all in shadow. And I've got software on my computer, my Apple PC at home, which probably comes with most other people's computers, that allows you to remove shadows, increase contrast, increase brightness, sharpen the image up, increase the focus, and you can do amazing things with photos, especially photos taken in the dark, Chuck.
That's a fantastic photo. What do you think about the location of where the jawline sits compared to the shoulders and the reports for Bigfoot?
Well, I'm going to get into that. This is a little bit lower than for a human, but I think on a Bigfoot it would be even further down. And I would say that's a gorilla. I think that's a female
Yeah,
gorilla.
that's a
I don't
gorilla.
think it's a chimp.
Oh, no.
I think chimps, they tend to have, some have white around this area, and their jaw sticks out more.
So you're saying that the bottom of the jaw line actually dips below the level of the top of the neck?
I thought.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that in more detail. So you've probably all seen this famous Patterson-Gimlin film. I think the fact that they started with a fairly high-quality film, this only took up a very small percentage of the film image, but you can blow it up and not lose the quality. Well, with digital photos, you try to blow them up too much and you start seeing these square pixels. None of that. This guy named Joseph King sent me this drawing about 10, 12 years ago. It's been a long time. And I didn't realize how much was in it until a couple of years ago. I mean, this is pretty typical. Here the chin is shown to be quite a bit below the top of the shoulder. Bottom of the chin lower than the top of the shoulder. It shows the kind of cone-shaped head. On a human being, the whole head would be sticking straight up instead of being angled like this. Another thing, the forearms look relatively long, I think, compared to the upper arms. That's not mentioned a whole lot, but some authors in some books do mention that they have relatively long forearms. This might be an illustration of the mid-tarsal break. Our foot can't bend. It can't bend like this in the middle of the foot. So he's got that in there. And there seems to be some tendency, like when a human walks, your hands might be this way, and the Bigfoots tend to, and apes, I think, tend to keep their hands more like that. So that's kind of showing. Also sort of a more, I've heard talk about having more flexible or limp wrists. And that'll come up in a couple of the other photos I'm going to mention. I had a witness personally describe the way they were walking with their wrists flopping around. This is an illustration on the cover of a book called 50 Years with Bigfoot. And I don't know how accurate it is. It's supposed to be the Bigfoot in the story. And it's supposed to be a true account, according to the authors. It was named Fox, but someone who was friendly with him. It kind of scared me at first. You haven't seen it before, and you turn a page and it's there. I found it to be a little bit startling. But see, there's some more consistency. The right forearm does seem relatively long. And there again, the chin is relatively low compared to the shoulders. This isn't in the book they said this particular Bigfoot wasn't one of the more massive or biggest ones in the area. That there were others around that were bigger than him. I'm going to talk about a coincidence of consistency that just occurred to me as I was making up this briefing, because let me see a little bit more. Another version of that same drawing. Another thing I wanted to point out, the difference between the bottom of the nose and the top of the lips, I think, tends to be larger on a Bigfoot creature than it is in a human. Often they have a wide mouth and thin lips. This shows relatively thin lips. The mouth isn't particularly wide. I guess another thing is the eyes are always described as being quite deep set, and the brow ridge would be relatively heavy, right where your eyebrows are. This is another drawing. A guy named Igor Burtsev from Moscow, Russia, was visiting Janice Carter, who wrote the book about Fox. She described an incident where she said Fox was asking for garlic or something for medicinal purposes. And so part of this is a photo of Janice standing in her doorway, and then Igor's daughter is a real artist, and she drew in this depiction of Fox, giving an idea of kind of how big and how massive he was. But some of her, well, she didn't talk to Janice directly, but it's still kind of an interesting depiction. Blank slide. Excuse me. Igor Burtsev has a story told by a doctor who was an army surgeon for the Russians during World War II. And Igor's about my age, and years ago he talked to this doctor who was a colonel in the army. The story was the troops had captured this creature, and they were keeping it in an outdoor cold room in the winter, because they said anytime they brought it indoors, it would sweat profusely. So they brought it in, and the Russian colonel examined it and said it wasn't a man or a human, and they should just let it go or something. But he never knew if they let it go or shot it or what. But being a doctor, he probably had required to do anatomical drawings, so this is probably a pretty accurate drawing of what he saw. And there again, the chin is very low on the body. It's fairly massive. Whether or not, it wasn't that particularly large. This might have been a surviving Denisovan or Neanderthal type creature, because it, I guess apparently it was mature, but it wasn't nearly as big as a male North American mature Bigfoot would be. This Bigfoot figure was inserted in there. I put this up as kind of a warning. The guy that did this wasn't even a great computer expert or something, but he had had some interesting experiences in his childhood and when he was an adult, and he just sent this to me where he photoshopped in this image of a Bigfoot with his arm over that's the guy there with his arm over his shoulder, so. You have to be wary. I understand, and I couldn't do this personally, but with digital photography, apparently if an original photo has been messed with, some people can look at the digital code part that doesn't show up on the picture. Is that right, Jim?
I don't know, I'm saying, okay, cool.
And tell if it's been messed with or not. So hopefully, if we ever get a good digital photo of Bigfoot, someone can at least authenticate it from that point of view. Okay, this is going to lead me into my little theme about reference photos. And another thing is that the idea that you kind of see what you expect to see. This photo came from a piece of video that was shot in an Ohio cemetery back in 1991. There was a lot of noises being made. A small cemetery with dense woods in the background. It was located on the edge of something called the Whitmore Wildlife Sanctuary. And up and down the road that goes past there, the local residents have talked about Bigfoot. So my friend Don Keating shot some video panning around at night, and he might have picked up some reflecting eyes in the background. And originally he was concentrating on the black figure on the right side of the tombstones. We have a large tombstone on the left, a smaller tombstone on the right, and then there's that black figure next to it, which could have been a shadow, or it could have been a Bigfoot that was kind of crouched down over there. And I took it into work, showed a lady who wasn't particularly interested in Bigfoot. She just walked by, looked at the photo, and I had this photo for a week. She said, well, what's this over here? And I never even caught my attention. I think that shows, see, it's a little bit different color of, it's not a pure white like the tombstone. I think on the right-hand side of the tombstone could be a head sticking out, and on the left-hand side could be like heavy-set hips and the back of the knee and the lower leg. So I thought, boy, that's really cool. And then, let's see the next one. About 20 years later, or 15, at least 15 years later, 2010, 2012, I went back to the same cemetery and took what I call a reference photo. I had sort of remembered or thought that tombstone was maybe 5 or 6 feet tall. But as you can see, it doesn't even quite come up to my elbow. So if there was a creature trying to hide behind that tombstone, it would have, either the one on the black one on the right or the whitish one on the left would have been maybe 3.5, 4 feet tall at the most, but then they crouched down. So it certainly wasn't a full-grown Bigfoot in the photo. This was Florida skunk ape. This was shown for 10 or 15 seconds walking across a reedy field of weeds, maybe 2 feet high.
David
Certainly
Shealy?
wouldn't do that in sandals and shorts in
Was that
Florida.
from the David Shealy video?
That might be David Shealy's, I'm not sure. But if it wasn't David's, it was right from that area. But it's still interesting. I mean, arms are fairly long and they're swinging. Not a very good quality photo, and that's the problem for most of them. This was a photo taken by Ray Wallace. This is only a small portion on the photo. I zoomed in on it a lot and tried to clean up the shadows. And it does show a relatively small ear on the side of the head. That's another factor. I've never heard anyone talk about Bigfoots having big ears or floppy ears or ears on the top of their head. Gorillas have relatively small ears like that also. Here again, Ray Wallace has admitted to faking footprints, but liars sometimes tell the truth. If this was a real Bigfoot, it would make the photo a whole lot more valuable, and it was taken maybe from 50, 100 feet away. After the Bigfoot, if it was a Bigfoot, the Bigfoot left the scene, the photographer should have walked down there and had a human sit in the same position and taken a reference photo.
Or look for
The
footprints?
reference photo might have shown that thing was 9 feet tall, who knows?
Or maybe he's taking a dump, might find scat.
Taking a look.
Taking a dump, might find scat right there.
Oh, well, there you
Right
go.
by that river, there had to be footprints.
That's true. So I don't know the rest of the story behind that. This was from a video called The Snow Walker, which was shown on TV 10 or 12 years ago. People say it was debunked. They went and talked to the people, said they faked it. But the way it got up from the deep snow, it rose from a sitting position very fluidly, and walked uphill easily in deep snow. I thought the arm was especially long. This is much more recent. A couple of years ago, my friend Igor Burtsev got this video from some Russian kids there, I don't know, maybe 12, 14 years old. There were 2 or 3 of them. They had a video camera. They were fooling around out in the snow, and they got, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds of this creature. If you look real close up on its back, there could be a young one up there. See, it's could be like some white of the face. This could be its arm. There's just another one picked up off the internet. It shows the kind of the massive hips like the Patterson creature had. Disappears into the brush. This is a really weird one. Might be a couple of years old. Somebody was taken in Ohio. It's carrying a, whatever it is, seems to be carrying what looks like a half-grown cow. And the cow is, shows up more sharply than the possible Bigfoot that seems to be carrying it. Maybe it's just, it looks like a pretty realistic cow. Who knows? Well, it could also be a cardboard cutout or something, who knows?
Or it's Photoshop, we get that sharper image where they cut the
There you
image
go.
down layer
Right.
over it.
Right. It's another photo from Russia. When you zoom in on this, it doesn't get much clearer. The only part I thought was impressive was the way it's walking through that very deep snow. But the head is bent forward quite a bit. So. This one's just another one off the internet. Original, I zoomed in on the original photo. You can sort of almost make out abdominal muscles, and the head is relatively low on the body. You can see the shoulders are pretty high.
I don't like how its ankles look.
Ankles?
Oh, it would just kind of look too small.
I think it's behind a rock.
Yeah.
It's sitting.
Head looks a little pointy. Not a very good, great quality photo. But the arms look relatively long. So, this one I stumbled on the last month or 2 on the internet. It's supposedly a large Bigfoot with a small one. Very few photos are available of young Bigfoots. And matter of fact, the only female Bigfoot that seems to be definitely a female is the Patterson tool.
Now on that picture, if you look at the young one, the leg to torso ratio, and then you look at the large one, leg to torso ratio, it doesn't look right on the large one, does it?
The legs look relatively short. On the young one, the legs look, I'd say, relatively longer.
Yeah,
than you expect.
but, you know, nobody knows for sure.
Unless it's just long hair creating that illusion,
It could,
you
yeah.
know. Because it just could be long hair hanging down past the hips.
So it's hard to say if it's photoshopped or what. It's another one off the internet. Here again, it looks like the bottom of the chin is quite low on the chest. Who knows? I have seen, obviously fake videos where somebody puts a suit on, and that's one aspect. A guy wearing a suit, often the chin is way up here, and you can see the neck, and the head is straight up from the torso and things like that. This is supposed to be the Minnesota Iceman. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yeah.
It was preserved in a block of ice, and nobody knows if it was ever the real thing or not. But back in the maybe the early '60s or something, there was a guy named Ivan Sanderson, who was an investigator of the paranormal of all sorts. He had a good reputation. I forget who the other guy was. They went and viewed it up in Minnesota. And the block of ice was good and clear. They managed to get a fairly good photo.
Bob?
Yep.
Bernard Heubelman.
Ah, correct. Thank you. Yes.
I think
Famous
he was,
European investigator.
but I think he was operating out of the Smithsonian.
Yeah, isn't that where the body ended up going, was the Smithsonian?
No, I think the Smithsonian actually refused to
Yeah.
take a look at it.
and then he ended up taking it to Canada or something?
Yeah, all the stories I heard, it eventually disappeared. This guy used to take it around to carnivals in a block of ice in the summer and charge people to walk by and look at it
What did he do?
inside his trailer. And then he got worried that the FBI was gonna come around and give him trouble that it wasn't properly imported or something like that. Or that it was possibly human and he was in possession of a dead human body or whatever. The head looks relatively large. There again, the chin is kind of low on the torso. The abdominal muscles are pretty good, and the left hand, it seems like the hand is quite sharply bent at the wrist.
The nose to lip looks good too.
The what,
The distance between the upper lip.
oh,
and the-
yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Right.
between the eyes.
The eye width looks great. That's not a human eye width.
I remember one of the things in the book that struck Sanderson when he looked at it was there was dirt under the fingernails.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how somebody was gonna hoax something, would they go to, think to go to that level of detail to put dirt in the fingernails?
And there was one point where the refrigeration wasn't working real well, and somebody said they could smell it was actually some sort of a live body in there. But I mentioned on my first chart, my website is called MichiganBigfoot.org. If you ever want to contact me, just try to send a message to that website or activate the website, and there's a way to send me a message. And like somebody mentioned,
Michigan.bigfoot.org.
yeah. M-I-C-A, Michigan, all one word, Michigan Bigfoot.
Okay, so there's only one dot.
No, there's no dot. The only dot is before the O-R-G, Michigan
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.org.
If you just type in Michigan Bigfoot, it'll come up.
I guess I did this long enough ago, where I was able to nail down that website, or somebody else might have tried to, get the rights to that name. That shows relatively massive chest muscles also. But this wasn't very large, maybe even less than 6 feet. It looks like a mature specimen, it doesn't look like a juvenile. Who knows, could have been another Neanderthal type surviving.
And who knows how long it was frozen for.
Yeah, well, this guy kept it for a number of years.
But before they found it,
Yeah,
frozen.
supposedly it was found in Siberia someplace, maybe in eastern Siberia towards Alaska.
I think there's two claims to that. I think he claimed that later on, but he also claimed that he shot the thing himself.
Yeah, that was another part of the complicated story. And then he said, in the last few years when he was exhibiting it, that he actually had a rubber model made,
In Canada.
something like that, yeah. So it's a complex story. This one, courtesy of my friend Igor Bertza, was displayed in France, and
That hair
kind
on
of
his
frightened me the
shoulders,
first time I saw it.
that looks just like what the adult that I've seen, the hair looks just identical.
You've
On
seen
the
something
shoulder.
like that personally? Yeah, well, that's interesting. I thought the hairs on the shoulder are so coarse and rough, that maybe it wasn't real, but,
They're not matted and,
Yeah.
and that's exactly how I was like 60 feet away from it.
wow. I'd like to hear more about that later.
I
the
got
chest
zapped.
muscle-
It wasn't fun, I got zapped.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I'll tell you about it, sure.
Yeah, okay, when I finish this, we'll have time.
I think we all wanna hear about it.
Thanks, we have time, so it's. But, here again, it's that wrist position looks like a flexible wrist where the hand and wrist are bent up there at the top. And the chest muscle to me looks fairly massive and pretty realistic. The story on this was the guy displayed it for a while, and he heard the French customs was going to get after him for sneaking across the border without declaring it. Disappeared, was never seen again. There's a few of these around, and the question is bear or Bigfoot?
Doesn't look like a bear.
Okay, there, that's the head. Never mind.
The head could be at the top. The other question is it a bear that you're looking at its rear end, and you see the left leg, and then the right leg is kind of obscured in shadow, and you're looking at its back? Or is it a Bigfoot that's sitting on its haunches with its right leg being up there on the right-hand side? Could be its right knee, and that could be its left arm going down the ground.
I think its arm looks too wide to match the waist to be a bear.
Think that,
It's like all
think the left arm looks awfully wide?
To be a bear compared to how the waist slenders down.
Yeah, that's kind of a long limb for a bear, especially a full-grown bear. So that's, probably never be determined one way or the other.
You know where that was from? The last one?
No, but this one I do, this was taken somewhere in the Michigan UP by a game tracker in 2016. And see, it's kind of somewhat similar. Some people, I guess, quite a few people concluded it was just a bear, but to me, the back legs look very long for a bear.
They had follow-up photos.
Yeah, 13 seconds later, there's another photo that
Yeah,
shows.
and
clearly
it doesn't
that.
look anything like that.
I think I might have both of them in here or something.
Yeah, I think the other bear might be photoshopped in just to,
Oh, yeah, that's right. When the bear comes in, one thing you can see about most bears, their rump is a lot fatter and rounder.
like,
Besides relatively
how that
slim.
slenders down from the shoulders down and tapers in.
Right.
Yeah, but it's got a tail.
Well, there's a little something in there. Bears have a tail that's that big or bigger. But the right front arm doesn't look exactly like a bear's arm, I
And
don't
it looks like a hand turned in, I've always thought.
Be interesting to show this to people that are bear keepers in zoos and see bears doing all sorts of things day after day.
I could, my mom's the bear curator for the North American Bear Center up in Ely, Minnesota. And I believe she's seen this picture and said it was a black bear.
She thought it was black.
Yeah,
I think
that's
I've
what
heard
they
that-
primarily deal with, is black bears. And
I've
she's
heard
got-
that most bears in Michigan are black, but there are some brown ones.
They have, well, they did have a brown, block bear up there, but most bears are black, but theirs go anywhere from 700 pounds down to, yearling, so.
A little closer.
And that thing-
I'm not sure if this is the exact color. It does show a little bit of reddish,
Hibernation
which
and
is
gain its way back 2 months
typical of
later.
Bigfoots. They have, the darker colored ones, they have some kind of
If you
reddish.
see a bear come out of hibernation, they're nothing, they're just skin is all.
Probably remain a mystery. They think
There's
it's a
too
bear.
much
that's-
greenery for that to be right out of
Scale
hibernation.
it to that 55-gallon drum, that, you know.
Yeah, that helps
Those
too.
are Sasquatch, their torso is the decent size, when it's as big as that drum.
If it's a bear, it's a pretty skinny bear. I've
What
seen
is-
some videos of bears walking upright. If you see a bear standing upright and walking, its back legs look ridiculously short compared to the.
It could be a juvenile though, you know, if it's not a bear. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's 7 foot tall or anything, but
Yeah, it's not really big compared to that, that's a standard 55-gallon drum. I think it wouldn't be more than, probably maybe much more than 5 feet
Look
tall.
at the lines on the Bigfoot or the bear. See how sharp they are? You see lines that sharp, that's photoshopped in. When you see really defined edges, and it's got very defined edges.
Like it's placed in.
Like it's been placed, like it's been cut from something else and placed in.
Well,
Same
if
thing
you
with the
back-
barrel. See how
look at
the
the original
barrel
photo.
defined the barrel is?
I've
And
worked
the
on this
foliage
in
of
my
the
photo
trees, the little
processor.
leaves right there. So
One feature is to sharpen up the image. That's not the original photo as
Okay.
much.
Oh, you
Okay.
sharpened it up?
You sharpened it up, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just kinda can't conceive how people get these really interesting photos and all they ever do is publish the photo. They don't try to brighten it or change the contrast, and you can really bring things out of shadows.
and if you notice where its weight's put, the right foot, the weight's down, which would be its left arm, the weight's down. On its right arm to its left foot, the weight's up. That bear wouldn't be able to balance like that.
One of these that shows like there's a bend in the middle of the back, which I think are up near the shoulder blades, and I don't think bears have that bend in the back. It'd be nice if the left rear foot was shown that it was, you know, you could see 5 human-like toes on the bottom of the foot, like you can in the Patterson film. So that's interesting, but here's a similar one from, I forget from where, a little bit closer up. This one, the legs, I think, are even longer and skinnier than in the Michigan one. And that's where this one, you can kind of see the bend in the middle of the back, the way the head sticks up. If that was a bear, you might see ears on the top of the head. And the head, a bear head is bigger in proportion than the head on that creature, I would say. Generally, bears have quite large heads. Here again, I get back to this reference photo thing. especially with this one, because there's no barrel in it. Whoever got the photo had gone and stood in the same spot. If this thing was 9 feet tall, then it would be much more meaningful photo. This was taken in an orchard by some guy in Pennsylvania who's been eating his apples. And it looks like a Bigfoot that's bent over, its head is on the left-hand side. And on the top picture, just above PM, if you look, it looks to me like a little paw. So on the lower left, I hope everybody can see that, I zoomed in a lot. And I think it is carrying a youngster, and that's its, trying to hang on with its hand. I do have some video from Maysville, Kentucky, where I don't have a still of it though, where people had a yard light, and it would light up about 30 feet from their living room window, and they would, at one point they put black plastic over the window and just had a little opening for the camera. And in the evening, the Bigfoots would start walking out of the woods in the brush, and they'd get about halfway into the light where you never got a real clear view of their face. You'd see their reflecting eyes, sometimes a little bit of their chest or their knees or something. When one of the pieces of video, there's two big reflecting eyes here and like two big ones there. On the left shoulder, one of them, there's a small pair of reflecting eyes, as if maybe the baby was riding on its back. This one I just discovered last night. I was
Usain Bolt.
going through my hundreds of, going through my hundreds of photos, and I found this one looked pretty dark. And when I brightened it up, it looked better. And
Whatever it is, if that's real, I can move it.
sometimes maybe these look better on a computer screen. And here, it looks to me like there's a light area, but I can see 2 eyes and a possible mouth. So it's possible that in this arm it's carrying a baby. Use your imagination. But, also, yeah, the position of the legs and the knees as it's running is kind of interesting. I think in that there's a video called Legend Meets Science, and they talk about analyzing some Bigfoot films, including the Patterson film. And they think when they walk or run that their knee action is a little different than ours. It seems to be sort of knock-knee as it's running. So, I don't know. I don't know where I got that from. I didn't even know I had it. But there again, the head sits quite low compared to the body. So the head's not sitting right up on top of it.
Well, he was just saying there could be 2 in that one, because if you look on the top, like how it looks like one is holding around the neck. No.
Sort of
Oh, I
the
see.
face of the face, like holding around the neck like
Oh,
this.
whoa.
That's
Yeah.
the arm, that's the face right there.
Yeah.
That's the body. So it's got one up high and one down low, it's trying to hold up from the bottom, and it's got one sitting on his right shoulder, kind of.
Yeah, that part of the photo definitely needs some explaining, right? Yeah, that shouldn't be there. If it was just the creature, this whole area shouldn't be.
That's the
I thought it was
face.
just long hair.
Hey, could see
Another one?
Hey,
Yeah, it would have
blowing
to
in the
be,
wind, right?
it'd have to be very low. It'd have to be very low.
Pretty fast.
Whatever it is, it's moving fast.
Yeah, it's moving.
Well, it doesn't look like a Momo one.
It does seem to have a heavy brow ridge. You know, the eyes are very much in shadow. Now this is, I'm getting back into drawings. This was done by a lady named Rhonda Lafferty in Ohio, where I did a lot of investigating. And when she did this drawing, it was, the internet wasn't very active. There weren't very many Bigfoots published. So I think it has some authenticity from that point of view. And it shows the cone-shaped head. And I got some videos down there, quite a bit of videos of reflecting eyes at night. And they did tend to show the eyes being wide apart and the eye socket being round. Human eyes, is kind of an almond. Your eye socket might be round, but the part of your eye that you see is kind of almond shaped. There's a long distance between the nose and the upper lip. And the lip, wide mouth and thin lips. I don't think I've ever heard reports of Bigfoot having thick lips. And then, relatively small ear. And then the way the head blends into the body, you don't see a long skinny neck or anything. So I thought there was some authenticity or consistency at least to this drawing. The lady probably didn't make this one up based on other things we've seen since then. This is where an artist took a close-up of that Patterson film and try to give his idea of what it would look like if it was clearer. Now, there's some variation in some Bigfoot descriptions of whether the nostrils point down or whether they point straight ahead.
Both.
But that's that way even in some humans.
Both, I can show you.
You've seen it both ways, or what?
I'll show you a female holding a baby with her nose, her nostrils flaring out.
You guys think we could connect that into this, into the screen here?
I don't have a USB plug.
If you had a USB plug, we could put that on the screen. Have to get together with you afterwards.
Here is a female holding a baby. I've got 8 of them, all in a, within 12
USB on there?
These are all zoomed.
These ones you took yourself?
Yeah, I could smell them, I didn't know they were there. I started taking pictures and then we zoomed them after the
Have to
fact.
get together with you.
Shows their nose can do both. I can show you one that looks human-like.
Very good.
Oh, look.
Oh, he's got a USB.
He's got
He's even got the kitchen sink in there.
And there's 2 of them. just
Hopefully
over
I'm
here,
getting near the
3
end
foot,
here, maybe we
and
can
then there's 4
finish this
more,
off and then
4 foot
put
over
the-
here.
some real deal photos. So this is the Todd standing photo. How many of you have seen this on the internet?
Yeah.
Permanent Todd standing, right?
It's not, I don't buy that. Everybody tries to defraud them, and it's not. I've seen other things done, and it's, why would the man put all this time and spend all these years out in the woods?
Well, I don't doubt that he's, I've seen some of his stuff that I thought was real. I have some questions about this one.
That one compared to the real flat face round makeup artist is so different.
This one. Because of like that.
Where do I finish? And then we'll go through the- and I hope I'm getting to the end.
Just did a recent thing with,
Okay, well, this is
he's trying to get.
8 of them.
part of, rather than showing photos,
You know, if you just look around this room at the difference in the faces of us as one species, we have such a small sampling of real actual proven Bigfoot pictures.
yeah.
To have a couple pictures and say, well, that's what really they look like totally conclusively, we don't have enough science to say that, you know, that they don't have that variety like we do, and I wouldn't know why they wouldn't.
Well, we don't even know if there's only one species of Bigfoot.
I have one of them with another one that looks, the smaller one looks exactly like that.
Well,
I've got 11 pictures.
okay, well, we're gonna look.
So is the
A few minutes,
distance
we'll
between
take
the
a
nose
look
and the
at it.
mouth acceptable there?
It's a younger one, so it hasn't developed. If you look at it,
I think it's huge. That's young.
What's amazing
I
about
can't-
his pictures though is that he's so close, and everybody tries to get this close picture, but it's only from his head up. If you're that close and you're able to get, to get those perfect shots, it's, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have.
Oh, yeah.
rarely do they
Telephoto
show their
lens.
whole body. It's so rare.
But,
Well,
okay,
that picture, he's Bob finish. He's got 5 minutes, then we gotta get Tim on.
there's a photo analyst, I think the photo analyst can look at it and say, well,
No, I
see, the
know.
things in the foreground are out of focus. But that
Alberta.
picture had been, especially in the bottom photo, if you'd been standing 40, 50 feet away with your camera on telephoto, then that little bit of foliage and sticks would have also been in focus. So I'm thinking maybe the camera was only 3 or 4 feet away from that object when the picture was taken. That's why the foreground is out of focus and the other part is in focus.
So the
The other
theory
thing
is
is,
somebody
you're
said
top
like it was
standing
a
and
doll.
you've been devoting your life and spending all this money trying to get photos of Bigfoot. How much more valuable would that be if after the Bigfoot went, you had somebody go stand in the same place and you see, wow, that guy's head is only half as big as this thing's head.
Now there's actually video to this. Todd has got a movie
It's-
coming out or
Well,
something.
whatever it is,
It's
if
video,
any of
not
you guys
still.
ever get photographs, the photograph by itself means a whole lot more if you can make a reference photo. Go back to the same place, the same time of the day, hopefully the same lighting conditions, and you get a person or something to stand in the exact spot. And if you happen to have seen an 8 or 9 foot Bigfoot, it's gonna make your photo a whole lot more interesting.
This was supposed to be a small one, according to Todd.
Well, maybe it was.
In the video it blinks.
Anyways, it is what it is.
No, it's the other one that blinks. This one doesn't
Uh,
blink, isn't it?
Just trying to help everybody think about how to evaluate photographs.
Did you ever see the
And if you ever
overlay
get a
of his
photograph
face
on your
over this?
own,
It matches up his
how to make
eyes,
it more
his face.
valuable.
and his
While
one
you're
is
out
a
there,
makeup artist, too.
take some photos
I've seen
of the
my
area
grandma
when the
couple
creature's
times.
not there.
Bob,
Right.
the one I sent you that you had, I went and did that and I stood in that spot
Yeah, that's what
and you
you
can't see me.
Right. So that,
I'm not even,
we
you
have
know,
to show the two side by side.
unfortunately, I can't find that photo anymore.
That's,
I think I deleted it.
you've been hexed by the sets.
Stupid gene.
It's a photo of my game tracker took of me. You're on National Forest. It wasn't digital, it was a game tracker, it was a film camera. And most people can't figure out what's there, so I don't know.
I'm trying to
People
see.
keep saying it's a glove or something like that. What I think I see in the photo is, this is a full photo. The camera was mounted about this high up on a tree. And it was on fiberglass housing, and I had a 1-inch ratcheting nylon strap to attach the whole thing to the tree very solidly. I think something came up sort of behind the tree, grabbed the camera on the bottom and jerked it up. And when the camera went off, you get the effect like you were standing in the dark and shining a flashlight up at your face from your belly level. That's kind of the angle you're getting. So I think this is the bottom of the chin, and that's some nostrils, that's a brow ridge, and this is the arm. And, so that's what I got. And we tried it again, and the next time we did it, the camera was ripped completely off the tree and out of the housing. We found the camera laying on the ground. It had 4 silver batteries in it, and the back of the camera was popped open and 1 silver battery was missing. That particular camera back then cost us about $500. There was a person, they preferred playing tricks on me to stealing my $500 camera. But anyways, this isn't, I didn't find my best copy of the photo. Anyways, I think that's part of the jaw goes over that way. There's a little bit of the tiny part here where the arm connects to your chest. And I think this is if you hold your bare arm up, sometimes your elbows kind of sticks out. I think there's a little bit of elbow area right there.
When you went and got this, was there any kind of tracks or any kind of signs around the
Yeah, we
tree?
had thrown some fish on the ground about 10, 12 feet in front of it. You can see the ground was stirred up like deep leaf mold. But it wasn't a good area for me to clear tracks. It was in a very, very active area. This is the Field and Stream photo contest photo from several years back. The reason I bring this one up is to point out the kind of the dish-shaped face. And it looks like there's a little bit of hair sticking out above the forehead. And I wanted to compare this to these, over here, the Adrian Erickson photos. I think it bears quite a bit of similarity. In both cases, this was said to be a sub-adult female, like adolescent. And here
Was
again, I
it
think
Matilda?
this shaped kind of face. Pardon?
Matilda is what they named her?
Yeah, I think so. And, so there's 3 or 4 photos, and you can see the movement from one frame to the next.
Is that supposed to be one of the specimens in Dr. Ketchum's study?
Yes, yes, it is.
Is this on her page, her webpage?
Yes, this is one of the subjects, yes.
And do you notice the canine?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they do show up, they're relatively small. I got a few more. So then as it turns, you can see it turns its head. This is the same photo where I tried to get 2 different levels of exposure to see if the eye sockets would show.
Didn't these photos make him quit doing what he was doing because so many people questioned him and said he faked it, so he just threw his hands up and said, I'm done?
I don't know if that's the reason. There was supposed to be some idea that his photos and the Ketchum project were all going to be put together and make a big breakthrough.
Yeah.
I wonder who his dentist is. Those are some white, curly whites.
Who's the photographer?
And look at the
The
distance
Adrian
between the
Erickson
lip and the nose
Project,
again.
the guy that
That's-
did it?
Adrian Erickson's the guy?
Yeah. I think I read something about he got so much grief that he was faking and he wasn't.
But this
He
one also
just-
has that relatively small nose like in the,
Very defined brow too, though.
and there's a long distance between the nose and the upper lips. This is one climbing a tree from someplace, the upper circle, looks like it could be a Bigfoot up a tree. This next section is Bigfoot in trees. That's another, I've come to believe in the last couple of years that Bigfoots do climb trees more than I thought. especially the young ones. Okay, I'm not sure what happens there. I'm just trying to zoom in. Oh yeah, there's the bear photo. See how large the bear's head is compared to the rest of its body?
If you look at the size of the bear, then you go back to the other one, they don't match up with that barrel.
Yeah, so it's what would have been this particular bear.
Yeah, that
Bear's face is pointing away
bear's
from us,
bear's
the bear's
smaller,
So
yeah.
look how relatively large the bear's rump is. It's very, very thick across its rump in the back. And look how, well, the ears are prominent, but that wouldn't matter. This was another one, the upper right. This looks a little better on my computer screen. Anyways, the possible Bigfoot sitting up in the tree.
Mhm.
This is another one a friend of mine sent me. It wasn't very clear, but there was what he thought was a juvenile Bigfoot climbing a tree trunk. It's another from a guy in the UP and his game tracker photo after you zoomed in a whole lot. At least he had 3 different photos taken by his game tracker maybe within 5 minutes. And you can see there's some, you can't see any Bigfoot clearly, but there's some object moving around up in the tree. And that bear. Oh, as far as the footprint cast back there, one of them is is a duplicate of the original cast made at the Patterson-Gimlin film site. And I just started to realize, talking with Chuck about different, Chuck back there about different tracks and casts that I've seen, a lot of Bigfoot casts are quite a bit wider in the front than they are in the back. And I'm thinking, with humans, I would think that women tend to have narrower feet than men. Even when you find a woman with the same length foot as a man, I would expect in most cases it's a little bit narrower. And there's very few photos of female Bigfoots compared to the ones we have of males. So maybe we have very few, maybe most of the casts we have are also casts of male Bigfoot tracks.
Okay, Bob.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Let's give me a minute, let's see, let's go through. I think I'm within 2 or 3 slides of the end.
Okay.
This is one that I had something to do with my game tracker camera in southwest Michigan. There's a difference between the photo on the bottom and the photo on the top, and that there's a dark something or other covering the one garbage can. Other than that, the lighting, what kind of yard lights they had on at that time were a little bit different. I think this one's real quick. Also from a different area in southwest Michigan. There's a very large black object that
cool.
moves around. That corn was about 6 feet tall. This guy keeps saying, yeah, there's some really big ones in my area, so.
No.
At least it's 2 shots. This is the one, Greg was at this location, I'm not gonna say where, somewhere in southeast Michigan. We had many pictures of this tent at night. I guess raccoons in the background or something, you'd see little eyes back there, make the camera go off. And only one of them was this area different. There's sort of a white board and this object. When you zoom in and look real close, it looks to me like there's a head of a Bigfoot, maybe an eye, and possibly an arm. That looks, gee, that looks better in my computers. But I was sleeping in a little RV camper about 20 feet away. So we picked up something that night on the game tracker.
What resolution do game cameras come in these days? Are they?
You can
It's
over 5
a-
megabytes.
Whatever you
Like
want.
a megapixel camera, you get 32 megapixels?
Yeah.
And so you can zoom in pretty tight?
Yeah.
This one was in Oakland County, a little something showed up in the background, but there weren't any reddish colored tree trunks. That was just a little bit interesting, but not conclusive. This was just an example zooming in. This is my Christmas present. My 11-year-old grandson drew this up in about 10 minutes from a picture he saw. I got a kick out of that.
That's awesome.
Favorite Christmas present. Okay, Greg, I'll see you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks for your time, everybody.
Hey, can we see his photos real quick? Plug his
Oh,
photos.
Or do we want to wait after 10?
Well, let's just see his photos real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
While Tim gets ready.
Okay. Tim, you need PowerPoint? Or...
I don't have nothing.
Okay, this works. Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't need a computer.
Okay, introduce you over there.
Probably use the computer.
Okay.
It's in here.
Actually, we can plug your phone right into mine if we want to. That way you're... Still the cable.
Honestly, anybody has any photos that they think might have a Bigfoot in them, just send them to me through my website. I'll keep them confidential, but I'll try to improve them and send them back to you.
Did you get any of those, Eagles Nest Camp Bigfoot pictures from Upper Michigan?
Yeah, I looked at those, you know, I couldn't only do so much with those. The object was pretty far down in the photo. Well, but the emotion, you can see it moving.
I think in one of the photos, you can actually see a tennis shoe.
Did you see a
A tennis shoe, yeah.
Here's the binocular.
So
I think one of the best videos I've seen is where there's
May pop up.
a Bigfoot carrying a small one in its arms, it comes out behind a big rock, it walks about 20 feet.
Bob, have you ever watched the Freeman film? You ever
Yeah,
seen the
that's
Paul
fairly-
Freeman
that's
film?
one of the better ones.
the one that walks in front of the big pine tree in the middle of the woods?
Yeah, and then he walks around, he goes, and he sits down, and you can hear the guy, the real heavy set guy's filming it, and you can hear him huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with it.
Oh, there he is, right there. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the guy was a park ranger out west.
Yeah, that's probably one of the better ones.
That's a good film.
I kind of tend to believe park ranger photos and film.
Make sure it says it's a camera.
They were there all the
Some
time.
of his prints have the dermal ridges on it, so
Probably in
it's
the
more detail in there.
Yeah.
You got the video and.
Go back to DCIM, it's probably on there.
I've seen a thing on, his video at the beginning where he was talking.
It's my one other comment about some of this photography stuff. If I was standing where Todd Standing was standing,
You saw, you seen it.
able to get that good picture of a Bigfoot, I would go click, 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 just, 20 times or something.
Well, that was just a frame out of the movie, though, wasn't it?
Was it? Okay, I don't know. It looks very clear. The detail on that is terrific.
It's only.
It's either, you know, it's either a Bigfoot or maybe a taxidermy thing.
I
If it's
saw
a
a guy,
taxidermy thing, it's very, very detailed.
one of the problems with Standing stuff is his wife is a Hollywood makeup artist. And somebody did a video and they reversed that image, and actually when you take all the hair and everything off, it's his face.
Yeah, it
You
overlays.
overlay the two.
Yeah, I've seen
His face overlays perfectly with it.
It would have been nice, you know, if you saw more than just the head. On one of them, I think you can almost make out a shoulder. But that's all you see is, you know, on a Bigfoot, you'd think if you did see the head, you might see the trapezius muscles coming up.
I think he had some legitimate stuff once,
So, yeah, I like
and then
that.
he wanted to be famous and started faking it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that people make some of that stuff up. One of the people I went to visit, they were afraid I wasn't gonna come back, so they tried to fake it or something. But then after that, I worked with him for a long time and all kinds of things happened. But the guy that was with me at the time, he wrote it up like, oh, it's all fake down there.
Just reading it.
Well, there's a lot of people that are afraid of the subject. They don't want to be seen as crazy. It's like, you're not crazy, you've just seen something from the natural world, you know?
And these days, must be 5,000 people that have had a good sighting.
So has Standy given a published date of the movie? No, it just keeps coming and going? It's always out, it's always coming next?
Always coming next. Yeah, this is 5-6 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That he first started to come out with it?
Well, he's just started to repost on Facebook the last couple of months.
Yeah, he's got a.
Is he?
I heard he just signed up for $1 million. Somebody's endorsing him, and he's gonna make a movie. So he's cashing in. So it's
Who's that?
it's Todd Stanley.
I know the place he goes in northern Canada, where he took Les Stroud, supposedly there were 2 other researchers that worked that area and he hijacked it from them. And so he's dirt, you know, on the northern Canada Bigfoot community. Now, did you ever see the Cyberman Bigfoots?
Yeah.
That's just legit.
Yeah.
What was going on, those calls and stuff they were hearing, that wasn't.
What I liked about it is his whole skepticism goes through. He's not like money maker going, oh, must be a spot. You know what I mean? He's like, there's credibility when someone is not.
Did you see his interview after they got done shooting the shows? Les Stroud's?
I heard him.
Where he said that he was walking out from the last place he went, a voice in his head, he said, if you want the truth, we're on the next ridge line over.
No, I didn't hear that.
And he's like, I'm not ready for this.
Really?
And he admitted he heard something speaking in his
He's got
mind.
a zone. It's called something TV. It's $3.99.
Yeah.
I was gonna order it. You know, I think you can watch it on your laptop or your phone or whatever.
Well, they tend to mess with trail cams. We were talking when I was talking about Blondie walked out on Greg. Greg had 2 trail cams on top of trees like this, pointed across each other. and we finally calmed down. He went down and looked, both had 3 pictures. He got home, all the files were corrupted.
Yeah.
And Les Stroud has one on
Tim,
truck
if you're
where
ready,
there's an apple in a tree,
I'll
and
play with this.
all of a
I'll
sudden
play
this
with
truck
this.
goes like this, it blinks out, and the apple's
Let
gone.
Randy be first.
Well, last Saturday,
All right.
when we left Daigle at the Rifle River, we went out to
Yeah,
Burning
he's
Trail.
gonna get it because I'm gonna send it to him because he can't figure out how to get them up the cloud. But I know how to send
Really
it.
wanna see
With
those.
his girlfriend and my son, and we were out into the woods. There was a tree that had slammed into a tree.
Read this
So
to
when
you.
we had to come back, it's nighttime.
Otherwise,
I got it all
don't
filmed.
forget
Yeah,
so many
I
things.
wanted my research
Right when we got to
in
the
the
spot,
National
we
Forest,
slammed.
but I
Oh,
found
this is
a
right
spot
after
right here
we
in
saw you
Canada
guys.
that
Well,
has
I found out
a
if I wrote it down,
one of a
then I
3-foot.
wouldn't forget it, so you'd be able to hear it.
You
can't do weird
Say,
Yeah,
things.
and then I had one
As I
about
filmed it, I was
7
filming.
foot.
My son
I'm
filming.
just staring
My
at
son
it.
is filming.
I'm like, no, I'm not really seeing this. And then when it moved
Tim's-
and leaned around and looked at me,
I'm 72 and I live in the suburbs of Detroit.
the minute I
I
went,
worked in the automotive design business for over 50 years and spent the last 30 years working in Ford Motor Company as a CAD/CAM designer. And I'm currently retired for 10 years. I love to archery, hunt turkey and white-tailed deer. I have my own archery business, and I specialize in bow tuning and aero flight dynamics, so that broadheads and field tips impact in the same spot on the target. I make knives, I do my own designs and leather work and embossing. I've made a few replacement leather sheaths for some of the knives that I've purchased that were damaged from previous owners. I do some artwork, I make some of my own crafts, such as feather smudging wand, smudging bowls, smudging kits with a Native American theme. I'm a habituator and researcher by default. I have had experience with the forest people from 1979 up to date, nearly 40 years, and currently interact with them about once a month, and I've learned a thing or two in that time period. I have a guardian that interacts and watches over me, and I know about 8 of the clan members' names. There is Ruga, Nada, Marla, Talmika, Somi, Sakuse, Rydell, and Malin, who came to watch over me at the conference in the state of Washington last month. There's over 20 members in my clan, and there's 2 clans that I'm aware of. The forest people do not appear to be an endangered people. They seem to be thriving across the continental United States. Each clan is different. Each individual within that clan is different, just as different as you and I. And like us, the forest people have a few jerks in their midst, sometimes referred to as rogues. I don't try to photograph the forest people, but I do have a few photos of them. I don't record them, but I've heard vocals from them. I don't try to videotape them, but I have a few videos of tracks, one video of a portal, and a few cast tracks. Some of my experiences with the forest people include some of the most terrifying screams I've ever heard. I get emotional with some of this stuff, so bear with me. Sometimes late at night, around 3 a.m. in the morning, I would wake up to these god-awful screams in the early 1980s. It sounded like a woman in trouble, or a woman being killed. Both blood-curdling screams always went from east to west, and always kept going west downstream. I felt helpless as the screams faded into the cold, dark night. But this happened again and again over many years, and has happened as recently as last year. Originally, I had no idea the screams were from the forest people. The last scream I had heard came from Nada. The reason I know this is because I asked my guardian who was screaming that night, and he said it was Nada, and he started laughing. Other sounds from the forest people I've heard include whoops, owl calls, whistles, and a few other happy vocals. Now, I'm not trying to prove to you that the forest people exist during this presentation, but I'm willing to share with you my personal experiences If you're looking for scientific proof, read Melvin Ketchum abstract. All the proof is in there, or just watch the Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. It's got all the physical proofs you'll ever need. This seminar and my presentation is more about the trust than it is about the proof. How can I prove what I have experienced? I can't prove anything, even with witnesses. I can't make people come off the fence or make believers out of them. It all comes down to if you trust the person who speaks. As experiencers, we are all at a disadvantage. We trust the information we are getting from the forest people, and we have no idea who we are speaking to or with. The forest people always have the advantage. We never know if we are being played or taken for a ride. We put our full trust into what we are told and can only hope that the truth was revealed to us. And to the best of our knowledge, we will be speaking the truth to you as it was told to us. You can only judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, and that is the best that I can present to you. Each person will take this information and decide whether they will believe it or not. The Christ did his best to tell the truth, and they crucified him. And so it goes with us presenters at these seminars. The forest people have a few healers who can heal some of our conditions or help in the recovery of other conditions. Their healers are usually women. They have helped me heal twice, once with bilateral knee replacement surgery and once with arthritic shoulder pain at night. The forest people will speak to you when they are ready in a form of telepathy most called mind speak. Mind speak can come in several forms. That includes vocals, images, or in your dreams. The forest people can tap into your feelings and give you suggestions to go here or look there. Listen to your paranormal or gut feelings. They can also project emotions to you, such as love, appreciation, happiness, joy, and tenderness. My client has sent me these emotions and feelings a number of times. I could feel the emotion of I love you with all my heart. When it was spoken to me by the guardian, excuse me, I felt the love through my entire body and right into my very soul. The words were so powerful, carried such meaning and feeling behind them. I had never felt love like this before in my life. I can only think, how much better could it be if Jesus Christ or God himself spoke words? It was so truly heartfelt. Any emotion that we can experience, they can project to you. This includes anxiety, panic, fear, dread, or despair. They can use both sides of that emotional point. Another time I was talking with my guardian and asked the forest people, what do you feel when people look at your photo or your image? To my surprise, he projected his feelings to me. I felt anxiety, delight, fear, happiness, terror, and anger, and something spiritual that I didn't quite understand. But I could feel it right into my very soul. It does something to the spirit, but what it is, I'm not sure. The experience was like him saying, this is my feelings, how do you feel? The forest people can feel when you are scared or afraid of them, and it saddens them. They feel horrible because they think because we think and portray them as frightening or as monsters. In their minds, and the distance of the viewer doesn't matter. They can feel your emotions over hundreds of miles. Now I understand better why the forest people do not like their picture taken, and they are so connected to us and with everything on the planet. They feel what you think when viewing their image. It was quite an awakening on my part. I had no idea. No, the reason the forest people do not photograph well is because they vibrate at a different rate than we do. Their normal vibration rate takes them completely out of our visual range. They have limits. We have limits with our visual acuity. But our cameras, dogs, cats, and others can see them along with a few other animals. When we do see the forest people, it is because they want us to see them. They can lower their vibration rate to a point where we can see them within our visual spectrum. Just as in the clarity of the Patterson-Gimlin film, she wanted that to happen, and there was intentions behind it. My client has sent me these emotions and images in a type of mind speak several times, but I've never spoken to them directly using words. I use 2 interpreters to speak with my clan, Pat McRae and Robin Lynn Haynes McRae. The clan keeps telling me soon they will speak with me directly, but until then to use my 2 interpreters. And they said, you 3 need to be together. Note, mind speak just happened to me last week on April 28th. 1 word. A forest person, a female, said my name, Timothy, clearly. I heard the word, not with my ears, but in my head. That is mind speak. Most of my interactions with the forest people are done by texting with Pat and Robin, and I will use the second person during my presentation to simplify conversations with them done in text with them. The forest people will watch over you. They will guard you. They will accept you into their clan. They will gift you, and they appreciate being gifted. They are a caring people, a nurturing people, and a healing and loving people. I reached out to the forest people, and they truly touched my heart. This is a message from the forest people to Pam White, who is a friend of mine. You will see the consistency of the forest people's message to us all. They will connect with you when we reach out to them with an open heart. Hempaw is the clan leader. This was his message to Pam. We see you walking through our woods. We can be friends. We are not a violent people like some of your race. You have a kind heart for your elders as we do our people. We honor our elders. They are wise and guide us through hard times. We watch you in your house. We are there watching over you. We mean you no harm. We watch for you in the woods. Our clan is part of your life. Hempaw says they will watch for you, that they know of you. You have introduced yourself to us. We know your name, but we prefer to call you the woman. The forest people help us because it is their purpose and mission in life. But it's not just me, it's everyone, if you just open your heart to them. That is why they are our big brother, and they are their brother's keeper. I found the forest people by not looking for them, but by reaching out to them. They are structured, they are a spiritual people, they have their own laws, their own councils, their own leaders, their own guidelines, their own hierarchy, and their own punishments. The forest people have rules of contact concerning you and I, and how they deal with us, and what is permitted and what is not permitted. They judge you by the content of your character and what is in your heart and mind. The forest people can reveal to you their history, to you, and instruct and teach you as they did with the Native American people. You must be able to listen and see with your heart. Sometimes you must solve problems. You must be open to suggestions and follow instructions. They are a patient people, a loving, nurturing, and delightful people. The forest people have unique abilities that over time you will witness and experience. They know where you are as a clan member and can hear you speak to them over hundreds of miles. They can feel your emotions. They can project emotions to you. They can project pictures, vocals, and thoughts to you when they are ready and when you are ready. They are your big brother and your brother's keeper in so many ways. I call them the undocumented forest people. They have told me they are human and are star people from the great creator, the same as you and I. Over time, I have found out some of the abilities of the forest people, which include they are a spiritual people. They know of the great creator. They know of the Christ. They meditate, and they also pray. They have a rites of passage after a death in the clan, followed by 4 days of silence. They did not mention when the burial takes place or where they bury their dead. They just said, your people will never find them. I was fortunate that the forest people had said that much because they rarely volunteer any information concerning their culture. The forest people are able to cloak. It is in fact their natural state. They can float over the ground. They form a levitation while cloaking. They can come to you in dreams. They can send you images. They can mind speak. They will watch you and watch over you as a type of protection. They can feel, they can heal and have healers, usually women. They can hear your thoughts over great distances. They have pets such as coyote, fox, raven, and crow, to name a few. They can change their eye color. They can create eye shine without a light source, possibly bioluminescence. The nighttime eye color can change, and it is an indication of mood and feelings. They can change the color from white to light green or blue, a range of yellow, orange, red, and other colors. They use infrasound, low-frequency sound pressure waves that induce feelings of fear, dread, anxiety, and can actually make your internal organs vibrate or cause disorientation by affecting the middle ear. They use portals for travel. They create orbs. They use orbs. I have over 3,200 photographs of orbs from my trail cameras, and they can create and use energy fields. They can drain the power from your phone batteries, your cameras, any electronic device, including car batteries. They can even manipulate the vehicle doors locks, your cameras, and your photos. They celebrate the birth of a child. This event is called a welcome to the world, but not annual birthdays. They are aware of astrology and the planets. They use stone symbols. They make stick lifts. They make stick and tree structures, tree arches. They can move huge logs and trees. They can snap a 4-inch tree with one hand and twist the trunk in a single motion. They have many vocals, whistles, and they can imitate bird calls and other animals. They love music. They love wind chimes. They love singing bowls. They like smudging ceremonies with white sage, tobacco, sweetgrass, and a few other things. They like to greet friends. They like to follow people. They like to gift, and they appreciate being gifted. They will gift you with feathers, rocks, minerals. They will gift you with animals or glyphs or other trinkets and oddities. They even gifted me a live turkey once. They use crystals and minerals, herbs, and many other natural items in their ceremonies. I wasn't sure if the forest people would be offended by my doing the seminar, so I asked them for permission and guidance, as I did not want to break the trust. The guardian said, "It is fine," and said I was a good man for asking brother. Yes, I did ask the forest people a few questions before coming to do this presentation. The first question, will a clan member be coming with me to watch over me? Answer, we will send someone. We always watch over you, brother. Second question, is there anything the clan really wants me to talk about? Is there something we need to know at the seminars in April and May? Answer, we are not a hateful people. We are kind. Talk about that. Third question, is there anything the forest people do not want me to talk about during the presentation? Their answer was, number one, using the guardian's image would be very offensive, or if I promoted his image in any way in the seminars. Number two, do not sell copies of my drawing, as I will be offended. I guided your hand in the rendering. My likeness is my gift to you. Number three, do not sell images of the clan, but you can sell images of the forest people that are of an artistic impression of them. Number four, that they would be insulted if I tried to make money off the forest people. Number five, do not give away our location or endanger the clan or its clan members. Number six, the forest people gave me instructions of several things and other paranormal things to not talk about during this presentation that might endanger or affect the clan negatively from entities or sources seen and unseen that you and I know nothing about. Question, can I talk about my experiences with you, such as healing, my encounters, the images you have sent me, the portal, and the turkey gift? Answer, you can talk all about these things, brother, just do not endanger the clan. Question, what about my photos? Answer, you caught us making a mistake. You may use them. We do not like photos, as we can feel the emotions of the people looking at that image. A note to the few doubting Thomases out there. It's fine with me that you have doubts. It's understandable, totally acceptable, and I do understand it, but please ask questions. Don't call me a liar when I tell you the truth. Don't insult me, it is you that has the problem understanding. It's because you can't relate to my experiences. It's too far outside your norm. The paranormal abilities of the forest people are not our norm, and hard to accept, and again, totally understandable, and it's also very difficult to prove. There's no need for me to embellish the truth. It stands on its own, and the truth never hurts science, mainstream or otherwise, and it does not impede research of the forest people. Can I prove my experiences? No, not always. I can have witnesses, but that's not always proof or proof enough for some. Some things the forest people do, you must experience firsthand before you can accept them. But over time, the preponderance of evidence will make you accept the abilities of the forest people. The longer you're involved with the forest people, the more paranormal it gets. Now, if one person experiences a phenomenon and expresses their heartfelt feelings to you, it's easy to dismiss. But if 10 people tell you of similar experiences, that might start to get your attention, and that's what it should do. Start paying attention. It will change your belief in everything that you thought you knew, so keep an open mind. I am just the messenger, and I can give you confirmation or validation of your experiences from time to time. And no, I'm not here to entertain you. I just want to inform you as you build your relationship with the forest people. I've had several encounters with the undocumented forest people. My first encounter happened many years ago, around 1980. I had just built my cabin and was putting up insulation and sheetrock. I had 2 friends helping me. I had no window treatments, no curtains at the time. After working all day, we started a propane mister heater to take the chill out of the moisture-laden night air. We had cots, pillows, and sleeping bags, and that was about it. The heater gave off a red glow from the cement floor as we fell asleep during the long day, after a long day. Late that night, somewhere around 2:30 a.m., something seemed to wake the 3 of us up, but no one got up. There was something very uncomfortable, a sixth sense kind of thing going on. Then there in the corner of one of the windows was red glowing eyes, and the outline of what seemed to be someone wearing a hoodie, peeking through the window. It startled the 3 of us, and then it just slipped away into the night. In the morning, we talked about it and wrote it off as maybe a coon hunter that seen the red glow from the hood, from the heater, and they were wearing a hoodie and just wanted to check us out. And we were thinking the red glow was from the heater reflected in their eyes. It wasn't until my second encounter that I knew it was the Sasquatch. On my second encounter, I was very intimidated, and there was 2 of us bow hunting. We were there bow hunting in early November, and the weather was cool and crisp. The leaves were down, but no snow on the ground. We had been out for the evening hunt and came back after the sun went down. My brother-in-law said he had shot a buck, and we quickly changed clothes and anticipated a quick recovery. We headed back out to the tree stand, discussing the hunt details, shot location, what the trail came in on and so on. We soon arrived at the tree stand and found the blood trail in no time. Marking the trail with toilet paper as we went along, then the blood trail just stopped. We decided to sweep the area with ever-enlarging circles in an effort to pick up the trail again. On our second go-around, we were stopped dead in our tracks with 3 very deliberate, very heavy bipedal footfalls. There was a long pause. We looked at each other in disbelief from the heft and the vibration that we were feeling. 3 more heavy footfalls, back the other way. As it stomped the ground, it sent vibrations we could feel in our feet and body. My brother-in-law said, "What the hell is that?" I said, "I don't know," and we were feeling very uncomfortable about them. I held the light out higher, but we saw nothing. Then it gave out this loud guttural noise. It then used infrasound on us. The vocal blast, in the vocal blast, we could feel our internal organs vibrating. Now we were in fight or flight mode, and my brother-in-law said, "Take the gun up, take the gun up." At that time, we were permitted to carry a sidearm while bow hunting, and I had a 44 mag Smith & Wesson. My brother-in-law grabbed the lantern from my hand and put it on his head and tipped the lantern back. We could see the 7.5 foot tall, 500 pound Sasquatch. It was standing there just 12 or 15 feet away for a few seconds, and then it stepped back out of the light. I pulled the Smith from the shoulder holster and pointed it at the ground. I said, "Let's slowly back down the hill, facing it. We don't want it to charge, but if it takes one step in our direction, it's coming down." We slowly left, backing down the hill, facing the Sasquatch, and quickly made our way back to camp. We had a form of PTSD after that encounter. It was so intimidating. However, that never stopped me from going back to the same place to hunt, and never kept me from the woods, day or night. If you want to see the entire story, visit Animal Planet, Finding Bigfoot, Season 3, 2012, Episode 6, Michigan Bigfoot and Wolverines. Today, after all these years, I still suffer from the PTSD. I have no control over that, in spite of all the good loving, caring experiences I've had with my clan. It isn't until I repeat the encounter to friends that I get the hair standing on the back of my neck and arms. Sometimes I had to stop because I was reliving the moment. Or perhaps it's just the added death of my brother-in-law, who was there, that breaks me down emotionally. In recent years, like compounding the two events together. Even talking with my guardian about the event, and he was there. He was the Sasquatch doing the intimidation. He has made several comments about that encounter. The PTSD comes flooding back, emotions throughout my mind and body from time to time. It just gets easier over time. It's not like I can choose not to think about it. My guardian didn't apologize. He just said, we needed the meat more than you do. However, he never said what the meat was used for. They could have used it for themselves. They could have used it for their pets and animals. I don't know. He never said. So yes, the PTSD is real, and many people suffer from a close encounter. Some will not go back into the woods. Some give up camping and hunting altogether. My third encounter, there was just two of us again in November, and I had a friend up hunting. After the hunt, we went into town for pizza. After dinner, we made coffee in the Coleman stove and went to bed. Around 2:30 a.m., we heard a hefty rustle with a tarpaulin covering our wood outside, and that was very odd. I lifted the edge of the window, curtain to look out, and there was a Sasquatch waving the tarp up and down. When the Sasquatch seen us peeking from the window curtain, he ran around the cabin with red glowing eyes and disappeared into the woods. My fourth encounter was from after bilateral knee replacement surgery, and I captured the forest person and his son in a photograph in my storm door window in cloak mode. It was then that he said he was there to heal and watch over me. My doctors and the PT people kept saying I was way ahead of the curve and doing things I wasn't supposed to be able to do at that time in recovery. They kept calling me their poster boy for bilateral knee replacement surgery, and I had both knees done at the same time. My doctors recommended against it, but I went through it with flying colors. I asked the guardian why he would do that to me and watch over me and help me heal. The guardian said, I do this out of respect. You're an elder, and your nature demands it, and this is what the guardian does. That was in February of 2014. He said they were attracted to me because I gave off a bright light, and because of my nature. They had been watching me for a long, long time, and appreciated my welcoming them onto the land of their ancestors. My fifth encounter was after I had requested that the forest people make me more tree structures as I enjoyed their work. This was right after the first snow in 2015, and I was driving around the property with a hunting buddy, and I first discovered the large double tree arch, and I took a photo, and I captured a Sasquatch standing by the double tree arch in cloak. You can actually see him in the picture, but you can see right through him. It was actually Michelle Brown that discovered the Sasquatch and pointed it out to me. My sixth encounter was another healing session about a year ago. I asked the forest people if they could help me sleep at night, as the arthritis pain in my shoulders was keeping me from a good night's sleep, and I soon fell asleep. I woke up to find two forest people attending me. One had my left arm in the air, and the other was examining my shoulder and armpit. I couldn't move except for my eyes. The faint glow from the Mr. Heater allowed me to see what was happening. I saw two of them in cloak. I could see right through them. As I became more alert, the forest people took notice. I was looking right at them. The one put my arm down, and they both left post haste, and they went right through the wall. I got up after that, as I was free to move again. I went to the bathroom, and then went back to bed. And from that night to this day, I can still sleep at night pain-free. I don't know what they did, but they did something right. I'm no longer in pain at night. Now, don't get me wrong on this. I still have arthritis, and it still hurts from time to time during the day. But I'm sleeping through the night without pain. I asked the forest people why I couldn't move during their examination, and they said it was safer for me that way. My next encounter, the 7th, happened that next evening. I was sitting up in bed thinking about the forest people again. I started getting images from one after another. Some face on, some in profile, some in quarter on view, some from the chest up onto the top of their heads. Some with cone heads, some with rounded heads, some with black hair, some with red hair, some with brown hair. These images were amazing in their crystal clarity. It was like high definition 3D with perfect lighting all around. Over 20 stunning images were sent, and then they just stopped. I was still sitting up, still awake. It was incredible. I thank the forest people for 2 amazing nights, and then promptly fell asleep. The best way I can explain these images of the forest people compared to when I think of something is to ask you to think about an object, let's say a bottle of water. Try and picture a bottle of water in your mind. Next, look at a bottle of water on the table here. Compare that image to the object in your mind. This visual bottle of water, this visual image is how good the image was that the forest people had sent to me. And I could picture that clearly in my mind. It was that good. My nephew from Florida and his dad came to see me in my interaction area last summer, and my nephew had never been there before. We did a walkabout, and I showed them the oldest tree structures and pointed out the new ones from the last time that I had visited. We were relaxing on the deck, and I was texting with Patrick, and the forest people said to say hello to my nephew, and I said hello to him, which I did. We were doing also a saging ceremony at the time. My nephew said to ask if he was looking at the guardian and 5 of the clan members. My guardian started to chuckle, and he said no. Nephew, was the guardian walking with us in the woods? Guardian, yes. I said, welcome, brother. We will be together tonight. It is very quiet. Guardian. The guardian was smiling and said, good, my friend. We will be here with you, my friend. I said, we are playing the singing bowls and burning sage for brother. Guardian, we love you, my friend. Thank you. I said, is there anything else that we can do for brother before the sun goes down? The guardian said, relax, my friend. I like your nephew. He's a nice young man. I said, do the forest people celebrate birthdays? Guardian, we have a welcome. I said, both me and nephew had just had birthdays. How do we get a welcome from Big Brother? Guardian, we would love to welcome you. However, it is just a welcome to newborns, to the world. I said, so a welcome is not a yearly celebration as we have. Guardian, no, it is a welcome to the world, a thought feeling, see? I said, we understand, it's a beautiful welcome and introduction. Guardian, it is a joyous event, my friend. The guardian walks behind me and put his hands on my shoulder. I said, I cannot feel your hands, brother. The guardian, smiling, announces, this is my friend, to the other clan members, a nephew and brother. I said, I'm feeling pressure in the 3rd eye area of my head. Guardian, we are trying to reach you. Relax. I said, I'm feeling tense. Guardian, you are tense. Too many thoughts. I said, yeah, that's me. Guardian, clear your mind. Relax. I said, my brother and nephew are talking. I don't think I can clear. Maybe later tonight when I go to bed. Guardian, your nephew, I want to try to communicate with him with his permission. I said, I asked my nephew, and he said, permission granted. He wants to talk with the guardian. Note, mind speak is case specific, meaning that I cannot hear what is being said to my nephew. I said, my nephew said he is not getting anything, but said he is trying to communicate with the guardian and had asked a few personal questions. There was a very long pause, maybe a minute or so of time had passed, and then it started to rain. I said, okay, it's getting dark and it's starting to rain now. We'll be getting ready for bed soon. The next morning I had another experience with the forest people. I was trimming and pruning the summer growth from the trees and branches hanging over the deck extension where I put my pop-up tent. As I trimmed the branch, on the left-hand corner, I felt a touch on my ear. In a fraction of a second, several thoughts came to mind. At first I thought it was a leaf and quickly dismissed it because I felt a touch on both the inside and the outside of my ear. I turned my head and nothing was there. I smiled and said, thank you. Instantly I knew it was the forest people. A Sasquatch had touched my ear, one of the forest people. Later that day, I contacted my guardian and asked him, and he said it was a little girl that wanted to touch me. My guardian had held the child up to touch me gently. I could feel small fingers on both the sides of the top of my ear, but I could not see them. I also asked the guardian, how tall are you? The guardian replied, a bit over 9 feet. The next morning I measured the distance from the ground to my ear with a tape measure. It scaled nearly 14 feet exactly. I figured he's 9 feet, his arms are probably about 4 feet, plus a small child. That's about right, seems to add up correctly. In the summer, the forest people gifted me with a live turkey one day. I was outside washing my truck when my wife came outside and said, look over in the park, what is that? I said, it's a wild turkey. I jumped in the truck to catch it on video. Now, it's no big deal to see a turkey on video, but there has not been a wild turkey in my city for over 100 years. Later that night, I asked the forest people about the turkey. They said it was a gift from my property 180 miles away. I said, thank you, brother. Should I look for it tomorrow? They said, no, we have it. Don't bother. We'll keep it for you when you're ready. One other note. I have never noticed a bad odor from the forest people while interacting with them over the years. However, I did experience a very heavy floral smell in August of 2016 on 2 separate weekends. This leads me to my next encounter last year, which was with a female Sasquatch who kept watch over me for a few days on several different weekends. She was using flowers that she had rubbed all over herself to give off a very strong floral smell. Each time I passed downwind, I could smell the floral scent. It was so strong, so powerful, it was as if someone had dumped the contents of a floral perfume bottle on a table and I just walked right next to it. I was able to find out later that her name was Marla. Marla was there for several weekends while I was out cutting the grass and preparing for the upcoming hunting season when I encountered that floral smell. That time I had called her by name and said I enjoyed the scent and would play the singing bowls for her in honor that night before going to bed. Some of the anomalies I have experienced are orbs. I have over 32 to 100 photos of orbs. I have photos of rods. I have photos of beams of light that come from nowhere. I even have a short video of a portal that was originally 2 minutes and 39 seconds that was shortened somehow to only 9 seconds, showing something like a cloud or mist coming out of that portal. I checked the original timestamp and it had 2 minutes 39 seconds. I had 3 other witnesses with me as we watched the recording. I had seen or caught the portal quite by accident. It was first noticed because of a distortion in the air surrounding that portal. The portal was under a tree arch, and the surrounding area was about 5 foot in diameter or so, and the air was distorted. It looked something like a calm pond with a light breeze disturbing the surface water. Only this was the air, and it was shimmering and moving slowly in a circular motion. We ran over and I started to video record the event that the 3 of us were witnessing. At some point the air stopped moving as I recorded. We heard footsteps in the leaves coming toward us from that portal, but we could see nothing. However, it ran past us and it seemed very small and short, and the footsteps faded into the woods behind us. When we went to review the recording, the timestamp said 2 minutes 39 seconds. I ran the video, there was only 9 seconds of video. I have no idea where the other 2 minutes and 39 seconds went. It was just gone. I must have caught something on the video that they did not want us to see, and it was removed. However, I did capture something like a mist or a cloud in the lower left corner of the portal, just only in a few frames. It was without shape or form on the video, but we did hear the footsteps fading into the woods as it ran past us. I have no good explanation what the 3 of us had witnessed or recorded. Later that day, I talked to my guardian about the portal. He said to never go into a portal, as it may never return. He also warned me that many entities come in and out of these portals. I asked, are they friendly? He said, no. I asked, how do I protect myself from them? The guardian said to ignore them. I asked, why? The guardian said, once you acknowledge them, they become your problem, see? I said, how in the world can I protect myself when walking through the woods when I might not see a portal because I'm not paying attention, let alone things I can't see that come out of them? How do I do that? The guardian said, I will protect you from them, brother, and guide you around them. I have witnessed several UFOs in the same area. I have made many photos of large tree arches, stick glyphs, tree structures, tree snaps, small tree arches, large logs that were moved from some place and were residing now in a new place. I have photos of footprints and I have 2 footcasts. I have 3 videos of a long trackway in last winter's snow from a friend's secret place. I told the forest people that I liked their work, and they made me lots of things to find. Stuff I couldn't miss. In-your-face structures. It was amazing how many things that they made for me, such as glyphs, symbols, small and large tree structures. I just love my clan. Back in August of 2016, Andrea Billups and I were able to get together for the first time since we both live in Michigan. She has had several encounters with the forest people in Michigan and also in Washington with Dr. Matt Johnson. Andrea never knew the names of the clan members in Michigan, and I played a small part in helping her to get to know the clan members' names and a bit more about them. There's Sodona, the female, Malakat, the big male, and Radina, a little girl that imitates Andrea. I found out that the forest people were trying to help her dog with its illness, as the dog has a funny walk, and this is what the forest people said. We found out that the forest people pray pray with Andrea to the great creator while she is in the woods and in their home. We found out that they had watched her in her home, and they told her things about her home and her dog that few people could ever know. The forest people call her the blonde lady, as they said they love her, and they are around her all the while she's in the woods and sits on the big log. The forest people told Andrea how to communicate with them, but said she could probably not hear them, but she could try. They said to relax, clear your mind, and think about your special tree, and to think about them, Sedona, Malak, and Redina. I said, remember, if and when you make contact, you never know who you are speaking to, so make sure that you ask their name. If they refuse to give you your name, give you their name, then break off the contact. This is what they told Andrea. They are saying you will feel them, like they are physically listening. It's hard to explain to someone who has never experienced this before. The forest people are chuckling and giggling and smiling that they are talking with Andrea right now. The forest people said they follow her around a lot because they love her. My vacation from the last 9 days, from April 20th to the 29th of 2017, was amazing from the start to finish. It was filled with excitement, anticipation, hope, the unexpected, the unbelievable, and it was great camaraderie from the people in attendance and with the love from the forest people. It started with getting to know Matt, Cynthia, Anita, Mike, Chris, Ernie, Dr. Daniel, Christina, and Patrick. Most of the people that attended camp out of Dr. Johnson and Cynthia in the Southern Interaction area, Southern Oregon Interaction area. After the conference in Washington, we made the 8-hour trip to the camp in Southern Oregon in a convoy of vehicles. It was lightly raining the entire trip south. It was late in the day as we arrived and finished setting up cots and tarps along with a few canopies. It rained the entire night, but we could still hear the forest people's footsteps all around in the camp on the first night. The attendants were Dr. Matt Johnson, Cynthia Pittsburgh, Zeus the official mascot, Mike Kincaid, Andrea Billups, Petros, Christina DeBastiani, Dr. Dan Riley, Ernie Hart, myself, Jackie Davis, Brian Desteman, Patrick Esteman, Nicole Apostoli, and John Taylor. During the first night, I had several personal experiences along with 2 others with the forest people. It started about 3:30 a.m. and it lasted until about 3:46 a.m. for me. I checked the time after they had left. I could hear footsteps all around the cot. The first touch was to my right leg, about 3 inches above the kneecap, near the insertion point of the quadriceps. The touch felt like one finger to the thigh, and a mild electrical shock about the size of a quarter dollar or slightly bigger in that one spot. After the touch, the forest person left for a few minutes. We had all been hearing footsteps from the time the sun went down and along with some chatter and talk near camp. A few minutes later, a forest person came back and touched my calf on the right leg. It felt like fingers again with that distinct mild electrical shock in the touch. And again, once the forest person left for a few minutes, but returned once more. This time they touched each toe, starting with the right foot small toe, working left towards the great toe, not stopping, moving to the great toe on the left foot, inside, and continuing on down to the small toe of the left foot. When they finished, I thanked forest people for gifting me with their touch and encouraged them to go visit Chris Petros, as he needed their healing touch more than I did. Chris is in 5th stage renal failure and needs a kidney transplant and soon will be entering into dialysis for 3 days a week. Everyone there in camp experienced something. For some, it was orbs of light. For some, light touches or pokes to the back or shoulder or feet. Some just heard footsteps or tapping on the vehicles. Some had potential healing sessions to their shoulders, their knee, or rib cage. Some seen glyphs or heard chatter. Some heard forest people speaking words. Some felt small children climbing on them or had their hands about their hand, body, or feet. Several more of the unique experiences, in addition to mine, came from Ernie Hart and Dr. Daniel Riley and Chris Petros. On the second night, Ernie saw a blue light in the trees popping in and out of existence. He also had a body exam from the forest people on his left shoulder down to his waist. Ernie had been experiencing a lot of pain in both shoulders for several years prior to coming to camp. The next night, Ernie experienced red eye shine at a distance of approximately 4 feet and heard numerous footfalls in and around camp. He said it was a powerful experience, but never at any time did he feel fear from the forest people. The next morning, Ernie had heard heavy footfalls, heavy breathing by his cot, and received a second body scan. As the camping trip came to a close, he said the vast majority of the pain had already been reduced. During his time in camp, Ernie experienced heavy footfalls, heavy breathing next to his cot. He had seen eye glow. He had heard tapping on vehicles at night and experienced small ones touching his feet and observed orbs during his 3-evening stay. The first night, Dr. Daniel heard footsteps and vocalizations from 2 females that were hovering above his cot. On his second night, Dr. Daniel experienced pressure along the length of his body that at first alarmed him. Then he remembered he had a gift for the forest people and took out a lapis gemstone from the brim of his night watchman knit cap and thrust his hand out from the sleeping bag and tarp.